So did you get a chance to watch Secret Invasion?
I did.
Yeah.
Man, what a show.
I really liked the first episode a lot.
I did too.
Yeah.
Listen, for our viewers who haven't watched the show or have watched the show, obviously, personally, I'm going to have biases toward the show because I love War Machine, I love Skrulls.
His 2 favorite things in the world.
And they have a TV show. So, but I thought very strong pilot.
I agree.
Very strong spoilery pilot.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited to see what comes next. And like you were saying, the reviewers only got 2 episodes and there's 6. So after this week's episode,
it's fair game.
It's all insanity.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited for it.
Oh, I'm stoked too. I just hope it ends up being one of those shows that was 6 episodes and that's how many episodes it needed.
Yeah.
Instead of being like Moon Knight where it needed more, or being like She-Hulk where it needed less.
It was an hour pilot, so I'm going to be very upset when I log in next week and it's like, hey,
20
it's 6 minutes. And I'm like, what do you mean you have a 6-minute episode?
This doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, welcome, guys.
Yes,
welcome back to another
show.
episode. We have some very, very fun things to talk about today. How the show's going to work is we have for the movie news section of our show, we have one main topic we're going to dive into, and then we're going to move on to the B-roll, which is other news topics, but we don't have that much time to dive in, so we'll kind of give you the headline and brief thoughts. Then we'll move on to the box office section of our show, and then we will close it out. So for our big topic, do you want to kind of introduce what's going on here?
AI's bad. For the film industry.
Yeah, so Terminator, I cannot wait for James Cameron if he does a new Terminator film, because you know it's going to be AI-based.
Shitting on it, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But basically, we've talked about AI recently on the show with the writer strike and how one of the worries was studios using AI
to write scripts.
And then pay writers to do a rewrite fee so that they have to be paid less and that whole mess of things.
Well, they've shifted.
They have shifted. And not only have they shifted, they've actually signed a deal already. But it's not exactly with writing scripts. It's very specific. And before I dive into it, I kind of want to go into how like a studio system would work with scripts normally up until this point. And it'll still happen after this. So basically, there are people who work for studios who their sole job is they get scripts from writing agents, from people's studio friends, not unsolicited, don't get any ideas, and their job is to read scripts all day long, and then they take it to their higher-up manager, someone at the studio system, a producer, and say, I liked this one, I didn't like this one, or I think this could be successful, I don't think this will be successful. That's kind of just how it goes. And the scripts that don't get successful, they go to other studios, and maybe somebody in that studio reads it and goes, oh, this could be successful. You know, that's kind of, you hear the story in Hollywood all the time about how scripts get denied and then picked up one place and then it works, and vice versa. How did this script make it all the way? Also ends up being a topic of discussion.
Yeah. And the blacklist.
The Hollywood blacklist, which is every year a list of bunch of scripts get put onto a list of the best scripts that were not produced, and so people will go to that list and start picking scripts from it in order to make movies. Recent examples of this was the Air movie, the Michael Jordan shoe movie, was on the blacklist. And one thing that couldn't be denied, though, from how that system, that machine was working, was that it had the human element. It had a physical person reading the story, kind of gauging the emotional connectivity, also gauging potential financial success from just, being in the industry.
And the bias.
The
person reading it might love a comedy.
Sure. But basically, it had that human element.
Yeah.
That human element may no longer be a thing. And what we mean by that is, I'm pulling this from the Hollywood Reporter, Warner Brothers signs deal for AI-driven film management system. And forgive me, I'm going to be reading longer passages from this story, but basically they're thinking about taking AI and replacing that person who would read scripts all day and using it with an AI system, also being the front line for pitches as well, in terms of accepting or denying pitches. The movie division has signed a deal with Synalytic to use the latter's AI-driven project management system that was launched last year. Under the new deal, Warners will leverage the system's comprehensive data and predictive analytics to guide decision-making at the greenlight stage. The integrated online platform can assess the value of a star in any territory and how much a film is expected to make in theaters and on other ancillary streams. While the platform won't necessarily predict what would be the next billion-dollar surprise, like Warner's hit Joker, it will reduce the amount of times executives spend on low-value, repetitive tasks and instead give them a better dollar figure parameters for packaging, marketing, distribution decisions, including release dates. The platform is particularly helpful in the festival setting where studios get caught in bidding wars and pluck down massive sums for after only hours of assessment. Then it has an example, as happened with New Line's $15 million acquisition of Blinded by the Light out of last year's Sundance Film Festival. The Synalytics AI's insight might also have altered decision-making on some Warner Brothers misfires in 2019, such as The Kitchen, Shaft, Godzilla King of Monsters, etc. And then I'm going to pull a quote here.
Mm-hmm.
The system can calculate in seconds what used to take days to assess by a human when it comes to general film package evaluation or a star's worth. So this article obviously takes a positive approach to what's going on. I'm skeptical.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is when this story broke, a lot of independent filmmakers were kind of going online and kind of saying, like, so you're telling me now I can pitch something and the algorithm can deny my pitch?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that kind of blows, you know? That's a bit fucky. There's some fuckery afoot there.
Yeah.
And I think this is a very slippery slope to go down, especially when it comes to AI trying to make... Because they're saying that the decision is totally data-based. Like, oh, it's all about determining market value and a star's, you know, there was a human element to those choices. And that's why they kind of ended up being special in those roles. And I think by having AI do this, you're completely removing the human element from the story. And it's only going to go down the road that the mistake that Hollywood is currently making. And the mistake that Hollywood is currently making is that movies are getting too fucking expensive, especially movies for streaming and big blockbuster movies.
Mm-hmm.
The mid-budget comedy is gone. It's starting to come back, which we're seeing, but up until now, it was gone. The mid-budget movie in general was gone.
Yeah.
And it's because people... Well, we train them to watch them at home for Warner Brothers from the HBO Max debacle. You also have the only movies being produced being big $100 million movies, which of course cause some of them to fail and cause power shifting and money changing in Hollywood. And so now you're going to take an AI and try to make it make decisions on what can make money, only leading you further down that path. When really, if you cut back on spending on these things and you put out a movie that only costs $40 million, it can make only $100 and be a success.
Yeah.
And that's what we see with horror all the time. I swear no one ever stops to learn from horror
Moral
films.
of story, horror is peak.
It's especially what Jason Blum does.
Mm-hmm.
Produce a movie for $7 million, have it make $100, like The Invisible Man.
Yeah.
There's several examples of Blumhouse doing something like that. I don't understand
Even
it.
a modest one. Didn't Evil Dead Rise have about 20 and that cost over 100?
Yes.
Like,
yeah. You know, just low stuff.
yeah.
And I think that... I don't know why that's going away, but I think this AI is not going to help that. I also think this AI system is not going to help the relationship with the filmmakers and writers.
As they're trying to close a strike.
Yeah, right? Like, I don't see the positive outlook from this other than they can lay off some people who they think are being paid too much, which they're not paid too much.
They said, oh, you don't want to revise an AI pitch? Well, guess what? Guess who you're pitching to now?
Yeah, that's kind of how it comes across. And I personally don't like this. And I'm willing to eat my words later if it turns out to be a good thing. I just don't see how it could be. Like, what are your kind of thoughts on this whole thing?
I mean, I think the human aspect is what can, you know, process the emotions and know the emotion of a story, the connection, what's going to resonate with even a general audience.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's certain things that haven't been non-existent that could come back if they're being made. Like you said, there's not really a lot of mid-budget comedy movies being made. They're few and far between, I should say. You know, and so is this AI going to be looking at, okay, well, there haven't been any successful mid-budget comedy movies. It's like, well, no, there haven't been. So is it just going to not accept those pitches because they haven't been around? There's no hard data that's successful.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of just the not recent, but like Barry, that TV show.
Yeah.
Kind of addressed, they had one of the characters on a very successful TV show, and it got canceled after its pilot aired. They said, we had the highest viewing count of this channel's history. Like, this was the most viewers this channel's ever had. Like, yeah, but, you know, the algorithm doesn't think it'll be successful long term, like, all that. And they're like, you're basing it off a computer? Like, well, the algorithm is pretty fine-tuned.
Yeah.
Or the South Park episode where Cartman acts like a robot and then gets a job at
yeah.
Netflix and it only pitches Adam Sandler movies.
Yeah.
I feel like this
Amazing.
is the road we're going down, and I don't like it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also, if you went off decisions of everything being data-based, you wouldn't get movies like Black Panther.
Yeah.
You wouldn't get movies like Captain Marvel, billion-dollar movies.
Mhm.
You know, you wouldn't get them. And it's a real shame with that, because there's no more risk-taking.
Yeah.
And that's how, yes, the problem with taking a risk is it could be a failure, but it also could be a huge success.
Well, it's also, I mean, even outside the human element of the script analysis, just the script in general and who you get attached to it can be a huge factor. If you give 3 different directors the same script, they're going to make 3 different movies.
Yes.
And that's not to say, like, if you look at, we'll use Air, that was on the blacklist, right? That was a script that was written by someone who's never written a script before, but it got in the hands of Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, who produced it. Ben Affleck directed it. Matt Damon starred in it. These are talents.
Yeah.
You know, if Air was with a low-budget indie film, it wouldn't have been the same movie. Not to say it would have been a better or worse movie. It just would be fundamentally a different movie, and would that movie have gotten made?
Yeah.
And I feel like we're eliminating those factors as well of Spielberg wants to direct it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it didn't get past the pitch, but it's like, that doesn't mean it wouldn't be good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, and I could see that happening. I could see Spielberg being like, I want to direct this script, and then someone at Warner Brothers being like, yeah, but it didn't pass our algorithm test. I could totally see that happening.
The amount of money I would pay for, like, punked to come back, and for them to tell James Cameron that.
I would also fund the show just to make it happen.
So I feel like there's those aspects of it. And I mean, we've seen failures from very successful directors,
yes, we
too. But it's curious what makes it to that level.
Yeah. And also, what I find interesting about it is it says, it'll be able to calculate how much a star is worth. Stars aren't worth anything right now. Like, no one goes to see a movie because of a movie star anymore. It's mostly IP based.
Yes.
For better or worse. But, like, how much is a star worth? You're wrong, whatever it is. Like, it's not really how it's working right now. And I think slowly,
But when you're on the pitch stage, do you have a star attached to it? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, normally that's how you would get past a pitch, is by getting a verbal commitment from some type of star.
Be like, and they're circling it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
Still.
But it's a slippery slope with an algorithm. And I genuinely think that in the 2030s, that's going to be the new 1970s. We're going to see in the new 1990s in a way, where we're going to see this boom of vastly different types of movies being made than are being made right now. And it's going to be a bunch of indie people making it for way less and having higher profits. Not higher, what's the word I'm looking for? Not profit, but revenue. Not higher revenue, but higher profit margins.
Okay.
And that's going to start turning heads. But I think we're about 10 years, oh my God, it's 2023, 7 years out from that happening. But I do think it's coming. But I think it's going to be backlash to things like this that cause that. But we'll have to see.
So you think the next 7 years we're just going to run the mill on superhero movies, corporate biopics, and actual biopics?
Yeah.
Because that seems to be all that's made.
Yeah. But I think at the end of the tunnel, we're going to get the 2030s of a killer decade in movies and indie cinema for sure. Now, will the studios learn from that and start making great studio movies again? We'll see. But I doubt it.
Interesting. I'd be curious to see what happens.
Me too. And that was our main topic dive today. Now we're going to move on to the B-roll section of our show. As mentioned before, B-roll is where we read off news topics to kind of keep you up to date on what's going on in the world of movies, but we don't have time to fully deep dive into them, but we still wanted to bring them to you. Nicholas, what's first up on the B-roll?
Yeah, before we get to like the main B-roll where we kind of rapid fire, there was one topic that Dawn and I just wanted to kind of briefly go over.
Yes.
Not long, but maybe just like a minute, not the quick little rapid fire thing. The Oscars, always a wonderful topic on the show, have changed the criteria for a Best Picture nomination.
Yes.
For what qualifies for a Best Picture nomination.
Yes.
Which Dalton will read now.
Yes. So I'm also pulling this from THR, but this is from all the trades that you can read. It used to be if your film wanted to qualify for Best Picture, you had to have a 1-week theatrical run in either New York, LA, or Chicago. Like basically, there was a
Major
list.
cities.
There was a list of markets, and if you played for 1 week in one of those markets, you could be nominated for Best Picture. And that's why, like, if you ever wondered, like, how do Netflix and Apple films get Best Picture? It's because they would do that. They play for a week in LA, they play for a week in New York City, and then you're eligible. Well, the Oscars have said, fuck that shit, and they're going to have a lot more rules when it comes to that, including an expanded theatrical run of 7 days, consecutive or non-consecutive, in 10 of the top 50 U.S. markets, no later than 45 days after initial release. So it means if you do that 1 week LA run, in 45 days or less, you have to open in 10 markets for a week. For late in the year films with expansions after January, distributors must submit release plans for Academy for verification. Release plans for late in the year films must include a planned expanded theatrical run as described above. And non-U.S. territory releases can count towards 2 of the 10 markets. That's nice. And qualifying non-U.S. markets include the top 15 international theatrical markets plus the home territory for the film. Now, I do want to say, these does not go into effect this year. It goes into effect 2024.
Okay.
So starting in 2024 for the 2025 Oscars, you got to play in 10 markets.
Oh, so the 2023 movies
doesn't count for this year, and then
Gotcha.
next year's Oscars doesn't count.
I see.
But it will go into effect.
January 1st, 2024, if your movie is starting its theatrical release.
Yes.
I see.
Now, here's another thing. This is 80% good. And what I mean by that is, now if the streamers want to get in the Best Picture conversation, they got to fucking go theatrical first.
Yeah.
Which Amazon and Apple are already preparing to do. Netflix is going to be the pushbacker on this. But basically what I want to know is Netflix going to do that for Knives Out 3?
Ooh.
Are they going to do it for those big time filmmakers that come and want to make movies with them? Is this going to happen?
And that is solely for Best Picture. Like Knives Out
Yes.
got its week or whatever be it.
From what I understand, this is solely for Best Picture.
Okay. Like these Netflix movies could still get a screenplay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. But it's fun. But also the 20% where it's bad is indie filmmakers. Getting your movie into one market for a week is incredibly fucking hard. Into an additional 10, you need a lot of money. It's not cheap. And I could see this being a problem for an indie film who wants to get an Oscar. Because unless you go to a festival and you get purchased, it ain't happening. For example, to kind of explain how hard it is, and this is for feature films, I had a short film play in one of these markets for a week, theatrically. And it only happened because the opportunity fell out of the fucking sky into my lap. Like, all the research in the world that I did to try to make that happen in the past meant nothing. It was the luckiest thing that's ever happened to movie nights, was that opportunity. And people would die for that opportunity to get their thing played out in Los Angeles for a week in theaters. And I just was lucky that it happened. Like, I tried it for all of our films and got lucky with one that had happened. Like, and that's for a short film. Imagine putting your heart and soul 5 years into making a feature film and trying to get that to happen. It's incredibly hard.
But even on the short film, like Best Original live action short,
they don't have to do the 10 markets.
They don't do the 10 markets, but they need to do the 1.
Yeah.
And that is already difficult on top of it.
Short films also, if you win Best Short Film at an Oscar-qualified festival, you're good.
You can just get it. You don't have to play it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, there's some different rules for each category, but yeah. But it's very difficult and very hard to do. And so while I'm happy that this is the Academy kind of committing to theatrical, which we've waited to see for a long time, it's still going to be tough for the indies.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
I hope that it can be worked out on that level. But yeah, also wanted to bring that news to you.
Yes, definitely.
What's up next on the B-roll?
The Directors Guild of America has voted to move forward with their new deal with AMPTP with a 87% voted in favor.
Yes,
so
we mentioned that it was likely the vote was going to go through, and it did, 87%.
So strike
averted with the DGA, yes.
Temporarily, at least.
Yeah.
Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi of Warner Brothers will now oversee Turner Classic Movies.
Yeah, so this is interesting because a lot of people at Turner Classic Movies were laid off and it started to scare Hollywood in a way to the point where Steven Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, and a couple other filmmakers called an emergency meeting with David Zaslav, basically telling him, like, do not fucking get rid of Turner Classic Movies. And the result of that meeting was him saying, not only am I not getting rid of them, I'm appointing the heads of Warner Brothers Pictures to oversee them.
Yeah.
So it was basically a, don't worry, I'm taking care of it. But it was also the filmmakers almost, I picture just like the Italian mafia with bats. Like, hey, Zaslav, you're going to get rid of Turner Classic, we're going to get rid of you.
Warner Brothers just confused me mostly with David, just like David Zaslav, where he'll do something like that and then be like, no, they're overseeing it. It's all about film preservation. Also, Spielberg, your next movie you're pitching to an AI.
Exactly.
Not that Steven Spielberg's ever had to pitch anything
of course,
this point. But, like, you know what I mean? Where it's like, where's the balancing act here about, like, film love and preservation? And then
it's all over the place.
AI. This next one, more just sad news for Dalton. Marvel, Lucasfilm, Netflix, Sony, HBO, and Universal are all reportedly skipping San Diego Comic-Con this year.
Dumb fucker says sad news. You know how short that Hall H line's going to be? This is great news.
For what, Paramount? I know it's your favorite studio, but...
Yeah, for Paramount,
but that's all that's going to be there.
Warner Brothers ain't on that list.
Well, shit, you're right. Well, HBO is.
Yeah. But, no, listen. If there's a SAG strike, Warner Brothers is out. They don't have no actors to bring.
That's also true.
But I also think if Warner Brothers does come, Warner Brothers should go. DC should go. Because it's their only chance they'll have where there's no competition at Comic-Con.
You put James Gunn on that stage, they're winning it. Yeah. Hands down.
Even with all the failures that DC has had recently.
If that line is that short, you might get to meet or see who the new Superman is in person.
That's what I'm saying, dude. Yeah.
That's fair.
I'll get to see David Cornsweet.
You calling it now?
I'm calling it now.
Official confirmation?
No. But
not official confirmation of your vote.
Yeah, my vote.
Yeah.
It's going to be David, and Nicholas Holt's going to be Lex.
What about Lois?
Rachel Brosnahan.
That's who I hope too. What a pairing. Next story comes to us from Variety as well. Sally Hawkins will not return for Paddington 3. Emily Morter will take over the role.
I want to know the story behind that because it doesn't go into it in the article.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's scheduling, but like...
Paddington in Peru, I believe it's called.
Paddington in Peru.
But I think also this is the first one without the director.
Yes.
Because I think he's doing...
Wonka.
He's working on Wonka, post for Wonka.
Yeah. I just want to know what happened. Because
could just be scheduling.
It could be, but I feel like Sally Hawkins is not one to drop out of movies like this, you know?
That's fair.
I mean, maybe it was she was ride or die with the director.
Yeah.
That could be it, but I don't know. It worries me.
And our last story.
Oh, God.
This is also a very sad one. El Muerto no longer has a release date.
Yes.
Or an actor, from my understanding.
Amid rumor
that Bad Bunny has dropped out of El Muerto.
Yeah.
What we can confirm, El Muerto no longer has its release date.
Yes.
And does not have a new one.
No.
Shame.
Is it? Because the fact that it was announced in the first place was so baffling. Like that was Morbius levels of what? Like when...
Okay, but listen. Can you imagine how funny it would be if El Muerto came out and made more money than The Flash?
Oh, you're right. That'd be really funny.
Listen, I think Craven will. And I think that's hysterical.
It will, and it's R-rated.
And it's funny. But if it was El Muerto too. Shame.
Shame. Real shame.
Well, that's all we have for the B-roll today.
Yes. And with that down, we're going to move on to the box office.
The box office
section of our show. Ladies and gentlemen, the box office is a fucking doozy. And it's been a doozy for the past while now. You guys are in for some fucking box office treats. It's going to get interesting throughout the rest of the year, really. Nicholas Iricchio. What were our predictions?
All right. I had Flash, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Elemental, No Hard Feelings, Transformers Rise of the Beast.
Okay.
Dalton, you had Flash, No Hard Feelings, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Elemental, and Transformers. We were both wrong.
Yes.
I'm guessing.
As a trend, yes. Nick, this is fucking wild. By the way, normally... earlier in the day, like we send each other the articles and the stuff we're going to talk about, so we have a general idea of like what was in that. Nick has no idea what I'm about to read right now.
I'm terrified.
I have not told him what's gone down.
These are the Sunday estimates.
Sunday estimates. We'll have the final Monday numbers in the description. Coming in first place with $19.3 million, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
No shot. Oh boy! In its fourth domestic week.
It gets better.
It
gets better.
In its fourth domestic week.
It gets better, Nick.
19.3. Okay, what's number 2?
Number 2, Elemental,
All right.
and it only dropped 38%.
What'd it make?
18.4. That's the A Cinema score. You'll have a low drop.
It helps. Yeah.
Number 3, The Flash, dropping 72%, making $15.2 million.
15.2.
Yeah.
75. 72.
72.
72%. Holy shit.
It's bad. It's gonna go down as one of the biggest flops in history, Nicholas.
Thank God we can get that title off of Guy Ritchie.
Yes.
Holy shit.
Coming in fourth, No Hard Feelings, 15.1. There's a $100,000 difference, which means
There's a shot.
come tomorrow,
There's
we
a
could find
shot.
out that No Hard Feelings opened above The Flash.
Could you imagine? Oh my God.
And coming in fifth, Transformers Rise of the Beasts at 11.6.
Respectable. It's sticking in there. It's making some money.
And by the way, I just want to point out, Asteroid City
Yeah.
came in sixth with $9 million.
Good for them. That was a limited release too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
People like their Wes Anderson.
Yes, they do. I'm going to dive into the numbers a little bit here.
Yes. Hit me with
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, the returning champ, has now crossed $560 million worldwide on a production budget of $100. So 5.6 times his budget back. Shmoney. Elemental has now made $121 million worldwide. Still not going to be a huge financial success. However, if it keeps these 30 to 20% drops in the coming weeks and it stays in there, it could make some money. It all depends. The Flash has surpassed Shazam 2
Barely.
and now has $210 million worldwide on a budget of $200. I think it's more, though. I think it's actually like $220. This is not good. This is, from someone who likes the movie, someone who really likes the movie like myself,
Yeah.
this is an unmitigated disaster. of
Superman
box
Legacy
office.
about to have $10 in a dream.
Yep.
Can I just hold on, just for my own amusement? I have also now pulled up the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, never mind. I'm sad.
What?
I was really hoping Morbius had made more money.
No, it didn't.
It made more money than Shazam 2.
Mm-hmm. And The Flash has the second biggest drop for a comic book movie ever. Number 1 was Morbius.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Amongst good company.
No
insane.
No Hard Feelings worldwide has $24 million on a budget of 45. Mid-budget comedy, like we said. It's made half its budget back so far. If it stays in there, it could reach its way to profitability, which we want to see. So let's hope for that. And Transformers Rise of the Beast has passed $300 million at 341. It'll be by 350 by tomorrow. On a budget of 195. It's made 1.7 times its budget. Get to 2.5. We desperately need it to get to 2.5.
I think they'll commit to it.
I think so too.
I think they will.
I think if it can get to 500, it will.
I think if they can get it to a young, not a younger budget, a smaller budget, the next one, which I don't know how.
I don't know how. Yeah.
I think it shows kind of the renewed.
I think
interest.
if you could just go same budget,
Yeah.
it would work. Hold on. I'm curious what Asteroid City's budget was because those people were not cheap. Okay, 25 million. And it's made 16 worldwide.
Awesome.
That'll probably find its way to profitability. Good job, Asteroid City.
Depending on the coming weeks.
Yeah, that does depend on that.
I can't imagine his movies make a lot though.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
But they don't do terribly.
No, enough to
Mm-hmm.
to keep making them, obviously.
Of course. Oh, and while we're talking about The Flash,
Yeah.
Did you see that article recently about the working conditions for some of the animators? Not The Flash, Jesus Christ. Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, I did. Yes. Yeah. Interesting.
I'm 50-50 on it. I'm 50-50 in that it's more proof that the VFX
Yes.
badly needs a union
Yes.
in the animation.
Very much so.
I mean, there's an animation guild, but it's more for the storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, the article, I think it was in Vulture, was set out to be like a hit piece on Phil Lord.
Mm-hmm.
It was either Lord or Miller was one of them. And all it did was just have him say, hey, can you do this again? Hey, can you do this again? Hey, can you do this again?
There was no malicious. Now,
no.
The conditions were shitty.
Yes.
But he wasn't like, from what the article seems like, he did not seem like yelling, like vulgar, like in some like bad where it
was just a lot of revisions.
It was a lot of revisions, and now I think where then the issue comes out was then you have Amy Pascal. Oh, Amy Pascal did a bad interview? What? Where she was basically like, that's making a movie.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah. I mean, look, is making a movie very hard and you work long hours? Yes.
Yes.
Is that how you respond to someone who's saying that they didn't like their working conditions?
Yeah.
No.
You say no.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I think what they created was absolutely beautiful and stunning.
Yeah.
And
top tier.
Now, also, I saw that apparently there's different versions in theaters.
Yeah, I saw
what
that too.
What the fuck's with that?
There's little edits also.
Like a joke or something.
Yeah.
Like, to what point?
I don't know. I don't know why.
Was this a mix-up that they're now trying to cover as like, oh, so you can go see it again?
It's the multiverse.
Yeah, like I don't understand the stunt here or
Yeah.
why, or if this is like some in-joke where like I think this joke works here or I think this joke's work here. So I fucking just put both.
Yeah. No,
I don't understand.
Me neither. But, it is what it is. You might be wondering, why are you talking about stories during the box office? It's because I don't have any deep dives to do.
You want to our predictions? Or do you got something else you got?
I'll say this. Right now, Spider-Verse is at 560. You got Indiana Jones next week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Indiana Jones is going to open lower than Flash, but I don't think it's going to go that higher also. I think around 55-60 will be Indiana Jones' opening. What comes in second?
Does anything come out with it?
Good question. It looks like that Teenage Kraken movie comes out, but I don't think it's going to make any money.
Well, if Transformers has a 50, that's $5 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. You got your top 5? You want to go first?
I will.
All right, give it to me.
Mine's kind of a boring one. It's mostly just shifting down, but I've got Indiana Jones, Spider-Man, Elemental, No Hard Feelings, and Flash. I think No Hard Feelings will get a little tick up.
I'll do you one better.
Go on.
Indiana Jones, Across the Spider-Verse, Elemental, No Hard Feelings, Transformers.
Oh, you think Flash?
I think Flash is done.
You don't think the Teenage Kraken animated movie will get up? Because Transformers at 50% drop would be about 5.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think it makes that?
Nope. I don't think any parents or kids know about that movie.
I will tell you what, and my little brother might just be insane. I said, "Oh, did you see Spider-Verse?" He said, "Not yet. I'm excited for that Kraken movie." And I said, "How the hell do you know about that?" I'm not gonna put it on there. I hope it does because I would love for there to be 3 animated movies.
That would be cool
on this, and I think that would be a great win for animation.
I agree.
We'll see.
And I think because of movies like Spider-Verse, it's funny. Animation is learning the lesson from Spider-Verse, but Hollywood is not learning the lesson from Avatar. Do you know what I mean? When it comes to animation and VFX, like animated movies now go, oh shit, the game has changed. Like movies like Puss in Boots, the upcoming Ninja Turtles, like not even just the animation style, but like we can't just throw together some animation and call it a movie. Like, not that they were doing that before, but the standard keeps going up.
Yeah.
Whereas with VFX, Avatar does it, and the whole studio's like, can you fucking stop? We're trying to crank out these movies every 3 years. Yeah. And it's like, I wish they would just... I would wait 5 years for a Marvel movie if it had the best VFX I've ever seen in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why Hollywood won't learn that lesson.
If we wanted Avatar-level effects in Avengers Secret Wars, they would have to have begun yesterday. Yeah. And that's just the reality of it.
Yeah.
And we're probably not going to get that.
No. But, it is what it is. I think that's all we had for the show today.
I think so, too.
Yeah. Regardless, we have a bunch of movies to catch up on and a bunch of shit to do. We're going to try to do that in the meantime. I may go to an early screening of a movie tomorrow. I won't reveal what it is in case I don't get in. But we'll see. We'll have to see.
Yeah, sounds good.
And with that being said, I've been Dalton Burdett.
I've been Nick Aricchio.
Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.